Yes, as you say, I'm Paul Scully. I have been living in the borough now for 28 years. First of all in the middle of Sutton and latterly in Carshalton. I was a local councillor here in Carshalton, and then the leader of the Conservative group on Sutton Council. Some of you I may have met over that period of time. And in my background, over 20 years, I'm not a career politician. It's not something particular I went into any view to actually having a career in politics. I've run my own business over a number of years. I run a communications company, and I think actually it's having that sort of background in life when you're actually responsible for other people's livelihoods, when you've actually been through a couple of recessions. I've lost a business in a recession as well as actually opened up a second one, slightly madly, in a recession. That you actually start to understand the realities and the difficulties of life. Over the last 2.5 years since I've been the parliamentary candidate for Sutton and Cheam, I started right at the beginning, and my three themes haven't really changed because they're three local themes that reflect what's going on in the country as a whole. National Health Service, obviously protecting the accident and emergency services, the maternity services, the children's services at St Helier Hospital, the hospital where my two children were born, where I volunteer on a regular basis in the stroke ward as well. It's always been there for me, it's always been there for us as a borough, and it's really important that we're there for the hospital in its hour of need. But also protecting some sort of healthcare facilities at Sutton Hospital as well. Preferably, I'd love to see a decent healthcare facility like a super surgery built there to take the pressure off St Helier for blood tests, minor procedures, these sort of things. I'd also like to see the council get on and build a secondary school to satisfy the shortage of school places that they predict are likely to happen by 2017, and we're likely to need a second secondary school by 2020 as well. The demand at the moment is in the centre of Sutton and to the north of Sutton, and that's really where I'd like to see sites being identified and a school being built over there. And the third thing is the local economy as well. It's fantastic when you see David Cameron and George Osborne talking about the economy as a whole. We've got the fastest growing economy in the developed world, creating more jobs than the whole of the rest of the European Union put together, but we need to see how that affects us here as well. So I've been doing a lot of work with the local independent shops, making sure that the character of Cheam, the character of Worcester Park, North Cheam are developed and maintained as well, so we can have thriving high streets, and then we can have a vision for Sutton High Street as well. But at the end of the day, this is a national election. When David Cameron needs 23 more seats to win an overall majority, this is number 17. So you have a huge influence about who runs the country for the next 5 years. Thank you. I'm not sure that I agree with the premise of the question, putting millionaire people in Parliament next to people that are striving to get on in life in their everyday fields outside politics, because there are people of all sorts of backgrounds in House of Parliament, of all parties, millionaires on all parts of the all parties, and people that have worked their way through mining, bus driving, all sorts. But coming back to your specific question about policies, we've actually taken a number of people out of tax entirely by raising the tax threshold with which they do. It's something that's been implemented over the last 5 years with a Conservative Chancellor that's put it in, and we want to extend that to £12,000. What we've also done is we've helped to start fixing the economy, frankly. Because by fixing the economy, as I said in my introductory remarks, we've created more jobs than the whole of the rest of Europe put together. Yorkshire itself has created more jobs than France. So we've actually started to rebuild a situation where people can actually feel confident that there are jobs out there for them, that they can get on and strive to get on in life. We've also changed the welfare system so that it always pays to work as well, so that we have a situation where you can have a hand up, but not necessarily a hand out. It's really important that in doing so, that we make sure that we're looking after the most vulnerable in our society, but as I say, making sure that it's not something that becomes a lifestyle choice as it has for a small but significant minority.
We have time.
We inherited a massive deficit. So the deficit, massive, very easy to accept, to answer the difference between deficit and debt. Deficit means that we are actually spending more money than we raise, and we are still trying to get over that problem at the moment. When we took over government in 2010, £1 in every 4 that was spent by the government was borrowed money. That was money that was actually coming to fund Chinese universities, Middle Eastern healthcare, not our public services as well. We've tried to rectify that situation now, and whilst we've sorted that, until we've sorted out the deficit, yes, of course, simple maths means that the debt will go up until we can have a surplus. We've ring-fenced the NHS budget over the last 5 years, and that's something we intended to do over the next 5 years as well, putting £2 billion extra in each year. The schools budget as well is looking at being protected. The Conservative manifesto will be out next week, I believe, so we'll have more detail at that point of the specific departments you talk about. But it's really important, as I say, that we get to a point, as quickly as we can, that Britain can live within its means. We've heard some fantastical claims about where the money's going to come from and how much we're going to be spending if some of these parties get in at the moment. You would think you're in Mugabe's land grab, actually, the fact that you can suddenly take over half the institutions of this country. The financial institutions that apparently we're all going to be taking over contribute, I think it's 11% of the entire tax take of this country. They won't be here to be grabbed, frankly. We have to live in reality and actually turn our deficit into a surplus as fast as possible to pay for our debts. Thank you. I think we just need to go back to where we were in 2010 and revisit that, and remember when Liam Byrne, the Treasury Minister then, left a message in the Treasury saying there is no more money. We were actually in a situation as a country where we were in a similar economic situation to Italy, which has had a Prime Minister imposed on them by a technocrat Prime Minister by Europe, and Greece. And we've actually managed to restore confidence in the markets, restore the confidence in the economy, and are working our way to a budget surplus later on in this decade. But when we talk about track record, you only have to go again back to Ed Miliband. It's like listening to Ed Miliband is like the sort of arsonist that sets fire to something and complains about the colour of the fire engine when it's coming in the opposite direction to try and put the fire out. You know, we've had no money when we took over in 2010, and we're restoring confidence in that. Just trying to fancy up, create some of these savings and say we're not going to have any cuts over the next few years is fanciful at best.
Thank you.
I think in terms of what guides me, it would be my upbringing, my family, my 46 years of 47 years in a couple of weeks' time of working with people, dealing with people, family, friends, work colleagues, etc. And in terms of politics, I think the reason that I actually became a Conservative in the first place is because some of the discussions that we had today. I think it's the only party, frankly, that includes the human nature in its policies. We can come up with some fantastic theories, but we have to deal with 60 million odd individuals in this country and work out how best to chart a course through the problems that we face and the opportunities that arise. In terms of how I would deal with conflict, I think that would be a tough one, because obviously I would love to think that people are voting solely for me, but I obviously know there's a national picture as well and a national government. But I would hope that I would have the strength and resolve to work out between my own views and representing constituents here the right path.
Thank you. Angus
Some of the stuff that's been said now, but we've moved on from what worries me. We've moved on from promises that are at risk of being broken. I think if you saw Martin Freeman's Labour Party political broadcast this week, when he was talking about guarantees, and we just heard it before, no idea how a government is going to guarantee you GP appointments, guarantee you apprenticeships. Who are you going to sue? What are you going to do about it? So that really worries me about when you're talking about trust, how that's going to be followed through. From a personal point of view, I like to under-promise and over-deliver. I like to take bite-sized chunks, things that I know I can actually tackle and make a difference in, rather than trying to change the world in a day, these sort of things. From a national point of view, we absolutely need a stable government. We've heard about coalitions and about promises that can be made and then thrown away behind closed doors. We really don't know. We're living in an unstable time. We're not sure what's going to happen in the election. But I come back to what I said right at the beginning, that the Conservatives need 23 more seats to win an outright majority, so we can have a stable government and we can keep to our manifesto promises.
No top down.
Far stronger recall than there's been in this Parliament at the moment. I agree with the Zach Goldsmith amendments.
Good.